Ladies and gentlemen, this is real. We are going to start. Let me do it from here. I have 4 announcements I need to make. 1, emergency exits. That way, up there. The way you came in, there's another one right there. Don't go over there. 2nd, these. Anybody got one of these? This is the old-fashioned one. Cell phones. Would you please silence them, or at least lower them, or shut them off? Thanks. 3rd, there is a video camera here today. There's nothing we can do about it. It's gonna go. If you have a problem with that, you probably should leave. I don't want you to leave, but unfortunately the video camera will continue, and so if you stay here, we are accepting your permission to be videotaped. Thank you. Oh, 4th, very important thing. The Attorney General is on a very strict time limit. And because of that, for the people who are speaking, we have color-coded cards to tell you when you're running a little bit late. So I guess the real one you want to know, you'll see color-coded cards right here. The real scary one is the red one. That means you got to finish your sentence. Thanks. I think, is everybody ready to begin? Yeah. All right. I'm Jason from Heath. I wear these work clothes because when it comes to cutting carbon, I'm ready to get dirty. And I'm ready to go to work. Is everybody here ready to go to work?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Your presence here shows me that you are ready to go to work, because what are we doing here? We're here because we want to do something about the gas leaks, especially the big gas leaks. Can we find these gas leaks? Can we get these gas leaks fixed? We come together today with a unique opportunity to make that happen. And so I now have the distinct honor to introduce someone to you who is a carbon-cutting hero. She is the Director of Executive Education for Sustainability Leadership at Harvard's Center for Health and the Global Environment. She is Leith Sharp.
Oh, it doesn't get much better than that for a kickoff, does it? Look at that energy. I want to bottle that. Well, today is one of the most beautifully designed agendas I've ever seen. The care and attention to this program today represents the kind of broad, inclusive thinking that has underpinned this journey from beginning to end. And when I say end, I mean end of the beginning. I want to kick off by taking us up to the balcony. In the words of Ron Heifetz, you can be on the dance floor amongst the action, where you really do get dirty and you get your hands on. And every now and then you also need to get up on the balcony to look down and understand the bigger picture, perceive the deeper patterns, extract the powerful shared learning that we can take forward so that we can embrace greater and greater challenges together. This is a story about convening the system to tackle complex problems that we face in our communities, in our countries, across the globe. This is a story about bringing together formerly disparate, polarized voices and bringing them into a shared journey to increase mutual understanding and to unlock powerful synergies that we can continue to unlock as we go forward. The work that Heat, Gas Leaks Allies, Mothers Out Front have done in weaving this connective tissue across to our utilities, to our big business sector, across to our government agencies, to our cities, to our donors, to our academics, to our larger community has been the most extraordinary work, a work done from a place of deep care and love and concern and passion, grit and raw talent that you'll see unfold before you. In the past, this work has not always been easy, and we see this across our society, this effort to raise movements to address difficult challenges around equity, inclusion, climate, ecological health and well-being. Typically, we find areas of deep conflict can emerge in this work. And a lot of that conflict has to do with where we each come from in the larger system. What's powerful about this story is that it's a story about unlocking synergy in our differences. Powerful synergy that sits inside the very differences that can divide us. This is a journey that begins with first setting our sights on starting where we are, taking a sober measure of these leaks, addressing the fact that they're real, they're here, we have to understand them, we take collective responsibility for these, and then charting a course forward of activating our community with this purpose-driven, networked capacity to swarm and engage and fill in the blanks, and then activating our larger organizations, our larger government and business enterprises, our cities, and iterating to get work done together that over time has brought us to today, where we're announcing the results of this effort and a commitment to the next steps that really is a breakthrough in this work. This would not have been possible without this commitment to solving things that are not being paid attention to, which is something that HEAT, the Gas Leaks Allies, Mothers Out Front have really committed to. But it equally would not be possible without the courage of our utility leaders to step into the discomfort of not knowing, of embracing these uncommon partners, of fostering shared understanding of the risks and the difficulties and the resources that we have to bring to bear. This has not been comfortable work for anybody. It's been difficult work. But the work has been productive and it's full of hope. Now, First Nations people have always understood the power of story. The power of telling our story as we look at the world around us with catastrophic risks mounting, the dogs of war circling, crazy guys with guns and the like. We can get distracted and depressed. Today is so powerful because it's bringing us back to the stories of our own place, stories that connect us to our own communities, to where we can do real and meaningful work together. How we tell this story is just as important as the story itself. And what you'll observe today is the way that we have many voices chiming into this story. We have many voices that represent critical parts of our collective journey ahead. This is modeling what this country needs so deeply, is this coming together to co-create the story of the future. It is about unlocking the synergies that exist in our diversity, unlocking the creativity, the sense of purpose, the agile approach for solving problems, and then connecting that to our powerful abilities to execute and deliver business models and effective services at scale across our community. This really is a powerful story of how this adaptive networked capacity to drive change can find and unlock that power and synergy of business and government to really deliver on that change and take us further and further forward. At the root of this work has been the difficult labor of building trust, of building shared understanding and shared responsibility for where each of us sit and the risks that each of us face and the opportunities that only come together when we unlock this incredible synergy that exists in our larger system, in our communities, when business, government, community, academia, media, our non-profits, our donors, when we come together, there's nothing that could stop us. And this is really about aligning ourselves around shared purpose and taking ourselves into a future that's rich with opportunity and hope. This is really a story of this country waking up. Now, that's the balcony. The dance floor is where the action happens, though. So the rest of this morning is really you getting on the dance floor with these key players. Our utility team, which I'm so thrilled to have followed your journey through this work. It's been really courageous leadership. Our mothers out front, heat, gas leaks allies, legendary. It's legendary work. And then the rest of you, so many people have contributed to this work. So let's begin with the stories that underpin this journey. First off, we do need to ground ourselves in this shared purpose, this deeper calling. There's no better voice to do that for us than Reverend Mariama White-Hammond. Her work in climate justice, in ecological justice, her work in connecting disparate voices in the community, bringing everybody into a sense of shared accountability and responsibility for our entire community, and her ability to articulate the passion and purpose underneath that is the perfect starter for our day together. And when Reverend Mariama White-Hammond is finished, we will welcome up Jessica Garrett. Reverend Mariama, thank you.
Good morning. It is good to see you all, and especially good in this time. We are in a time of massive upheaval and anxiety in our world. Just coming off of yesterday, where we saw that what we thought couldn't be worse unfortunately could get worse. We look across the world as not just what's happening here, but developments in Venezuela, the situation in Myanmar, the refugee challenge in Cameroon, issues of intolerance in Denmark. All around the world, we as the human race are asking ourselves, who are we going to be in this moment? And unfortunately, far too often, we are being told to fear each other, to turn back to solutions we know have not worked well for us in the past. And so we continue to exist far too often in a place of fear. For those of us who do climate work, we know that space. Climate change, if you look at it deeply, is a deep existential crisis. And it's connected to and exacerbated by and exacerbating all the other crises of conscience that already exist for us as a human race. The fact is that the very earth is crying out to us. Harvey, Irma, Jose, Maria. These hurricanes have devastated our brothers and sisters in Texas, in Florida, Barbuda, Dominica, Puerto Rico. This is a story of real suffering, not just about science and what's happening in the stratosphere, but what's happening for real people in real places, and our hearts cry out. I would challenge that these kinds of crises are also connected to this deep anxiety as we've looked at Charlottesville, at Las Vegas. We are at a pivotal moment in human history. And the question is, what will we do? Will we deny that there's a problem and just try to say that we can just keep doing things the same way? Will we ignore it, which is just another form of denial, right? Or will we choose to face a reality head on? Not just to be depressed, not just to lament, but to believe that in this moment, we have the opportunity to be the human race we've always been called to be. That this is not a moment of despair, but a moment of opportunity. An opportunity to lean into each other in ways we never, ever have before. And to get onto the other side, able to tell our great-grandchildren about the moment when we decided to live, to truly live together and in harmony with this creation, this home which is our only home. So we have a moral obligation not to bury our heads in the sand. And this obligation is not just about facing the science, but also about examining the gross injustices of the system that created this crisis. And the truth is, if we are going to get to the other side of this, we need everyone to work together to rise to this challenge. We need every opportunity explored. We need every solution to be attempted. We have to work together, not always because we agree fully. My job may be different than yours. Your approach may be different than the person next to you. But we cannot discount anybody in this work because our only chance of survival is one in which we marshal our creative possibilities of every member of the human race to meet this challenge. And so that means we start with a sense of urgency. We face the fact that we can't wait for tomorrow or in a couple of years, but that the time to face this crisis is right now. And then we must lean into the wisdom of our ancestors, because there are many things that we can learn from the past, from those who learned to live with a whole lot less than what we have. And we have to put those at the margins more deeply in the center. Those folks who've learned how to live on $1 a day have something to teach the rest of us who think we can't make it if we leave our iPhone at home. And I am one of those people. I will get back on the train and go home. I know that I don't need it to live, but sometimes I forget these things. And so we have to learn from those who've learned already to live with less. We must be guided by the wisdom of those who have not necessarily bought into the system that we know is failing. And as we do that, we will find allies whenever and wherever we can. And that means when we see people, not assuming that we know who they are or where they will come from, what perspective or wisdom they'll bring, but that we look at each and every person knowing that they have something to add to this crisis, and that we will believe the best about them, because often when we see the best in our brothers and sisters, they are motivated to become their best in that moment. I advocate this not because I believe that everything will change overnight. We will fail sometimes. We will struggle. We will not always agree. But if we are willing to lean into this and start with the fundamental notion that we need each other to survive, I believe that we can face this challenge, that we as the human race can emerge 10, 20, 50, and 100 years from now, telling our children about the moment in which climate change helped us to be the people we were always meant to be. So this today is about one story of people rising to the challenge, of people believing something is possible that some people thought was not. Come on, y'all. The fact that climate activists and utilities could work together, that's an unlikely story. But it happened. And so let's celebrate this moment and lean more into it. This is what history requires of us. Thank you.
It's time now to hear from Jessica Garrett, a science educator, a Mothers Out Front participant, leader, who will speak to us around the power of community and science and her call to action.
Hello, everyone. This is Felix, and I'm his mom. Felix's current obsession is big cats, such as black jaguars and snow leopards. He's learning to read. He's making funny jokes, and his favorite game at recess is tag. When he grows up, he wants to be a nature photographer, and in fact, he loves animals so much he refuses to eat them. Even before he was born, I tried to make life choices that were planet-friendly. But the reality of the major mess we humans are creating for ourselves didn't feel truly urgent until I became Felix's mom. I remember looking into his innocent baby eyes and wondering, how could I bring this lovely child into a world with an increasingly unstable climate? A world of intense storms and droughts and fires, where clean air and water and food supplies are endangered. All of my individual actions felt too small. When he grew older, I wondered, would Felix say, "Mom, you knew. Why didn't you do more?" I felt very alone. What could one exhausted mother do when my government, energy companies, corporations, and so many others weren't confronting this challenge? And then I joined Mothers Out Front, and I realized I was not alone. By taking collective action locally and across the country, we move ourselves and others from despair to hope. And we work in creative ways, telling our stories, listening carefully to concerns on all sides, and forming uncommon partnerships. We're doing what parents need to do, protecting our kids. Surprisingly, working with Mothers Out Front also meant getting to know people from National Grid and Eversource and now Columbia Gas, people who are here in this room. After one event in Waltham, for instance, as we stood around chatting and showing each other photos of our children, it was obvious that we care about the same basic things, protecting and providing for our families. And we are rapidly running out of time. The last 3 years of Felix's life have been the hottest years ever on record. It's no longer about my son's future, it's about his present. The kids in Houston, Florida, the Caribbean islands, or where the fires are incinerating farms and homes in British Columbia and California, those kids are dealing with the consequences of our fuel choices today. I often tell Felix it's my job to keep him safe. I teach him how to cross the street and to wear a bicycle helmet. But I can't fix the gas leak on my street or next to his playground. I can't promise him healthy air and water and a safe, livable climate. But shouldn't we be able to offer our kids that? Once when I headed out to yet another Mothers Out Front meeting, Felix asked, "Are you going to work with those other superhero mommies again to save the world?" It was an electric moment. I knew that my son is growing up knowing that I'm fighting for him. And I'm asking you to do the same. This morning, you're going to hear from people with disparate experiences and motivations who started and then kept listening to each other, despite the difficulties. It wasn't easy. Nevertheless, they persisted. I'm so grateful you've chosen to be here today. Look around this room. The fact that gas industry professionals, moms, and climate activists are all here together is an incredible accomplishment. We share the curiosity and the courage to find solutions. Today, think about who needs your protection, courage, and urgent action the way Felix needs mine. How can our businesses and children survive and thrive? It will require taking risks, stretching ourselves, and working really hard. And our kids are depending on us to do just that. So let's get started. Thank you.